Laws are for little people, Judge, not for men like me. Those words hung in the air of my courtroom like poison. I've been a judge for over 30 years. I've heard excuses, lies, and plenty of disrespect. But what I was about to witness would shake even me. I'm Judge Frank Caprio. This is Providence Municipal Court, and the man standing before me wasn't just arrogant. He was dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with weapons. He had power, money, connections, and he believed those things made him untouchable. His name was Richard Thornwell. He was 52 years old. He wore a custom Navy suit that probably cost more than most people make in 2 months. His silver hair was slicked back perfectly. Gold cufflinks caught the light every time he moved his hands. A Rolex presidential watch gleamed on his wrist. He stood with his shoulders back, chin up, like he was doing us a favor just by being here. Richard Thornwell was the mayor of Riverside, a wealthy town just outside Providence. He'd been mayor for 8 years. Before that, he ran a real estate empire. He knew judges, senators, business owners. He donated to campaigns. His face was on billboards, and he thought that meant he could do whatever he wanted. If you believe justice should be equal for everyone, no matter how rich or powerful they are, you'll want to see what happens next. The bailiff's voice cut through the low murmur of the courtroom. Case 2026 TR 84729, the City of Providence versus Richard Thornwell. Charge: reckless driving, property damage, and leaving the scene of an accident. I nodded and looked down at the file in front of me. Then I looked up at the defendant. "Good morning, Mr. Thornwell. Please step forward." He walked to the podium slowly, too slowly, like he wanted everyone to watch him. His lawyer, a man in an expensive gray suit, followed close behind. "Mr. Thornwell," I said, keeping my voice calm and professional, "you're here today because on the evening of January 18th, you were involved in a traffic incident. Before we begin, I want to hear from the other party involved." I turned to my left. Sitting in the front row was a young woman. Her name was Maria Santos. She was 26 years old. She wore a plain blue sweater and jeans. Her hands were folded in her lap, and I could see they were shaking just a little. "Ms. Santos, please come forward and tell me what happened." Maria stood up. She walked to the stand. Her voice was soft when she spoke. "Your Honor, I work at St. Agnes Hospital. I'm a nurse's assistant. I work night shifts to help pay for my nursing degree. I go to school during the day." I nodded gently. "Go on." "On January 18th, I was driving home after my shift. It was about 7 in the morning. I stopped at a red light on Maple and 4th Street. I was in the right lane. Then out of nowhere, this black SUV came speeding through the red light. It smashed into the driver's side of my car." Her voice cracked just a little. "My car spun completely around. The airbag went off. I hit my head on the window. I couldn't see for a few seconds. When I looked up, the SUV was still there. I saw the driver look at me. Then he just drove away. He didn't stop. He didn't check if I was okay. He just left." I felt my jaw tighten. "I've seen a lot of hit and runs in this court. They always make me angry. Leaving someone hurt on the road is one of the most cowardly things a person can do." "Were you injured?" I asked. "Yes, Your Honor. I had a concussion. My shoulder was hurt. I couldn't work for 2 weeks. I don't get paid if I don't work. I fell behind on rent. I had to ask my family for help, and they don't have much either." "And your car?" "Totaled. I'm still paying off the loan. Now I take 2 buses to get to work and school. It takes me almost 2 hours each way." I looked at Maria. I saw the exhaustion in her eyes. I saw the fear. She wasn't asking for revenge. She just wanted someone to care. She wanted someone to see what had been taken from her. "Thank you, Ms. Santos. Please have a seat." She walked back to her chair. I turned to Thornwell. His face hadn't changed. No guilt, no shame, nothing. "Mr. Thornwell, how do you respond to these allegations?" His lawyer started to speak, but Thornwell raised one hand to stop him. He looked at me with a half smile. "Your Honor, with all due respect, this has been blown completely out of proportion." "Out of proportion?" I repeated. "Yes, I was late to an important city council meeting that morning. I may have been driving a bit fast. And yes, there was a minor contact with another vehicle, but I had responsibilities. I couldn't just stop in the middle of the road. A minor contact? My voice stayed even. Ms. Santos was injured. Her car was destroyed. You left the scene. He shrugged. One shoulder. Casual. Like we were talking about the weather. I've already contacted my insurance company. They'll handle it. I don't see why we need to waste the court's time with this. The gallery behind him whispered. I heard a few gasps. Thornwell didn't even turn around. I took a slow breath. Mr. Thornwell, leaving the scene of an accident is a crime. It doesn't matter how busy you were. Judge, he said, leaning one elbow on the podium like we were old friends, I think you and I both understand how the world works. I made a mistake. I'm willing to pay for the damages. Let's just move forward. That was his first mistake, talking to me like I was going to make a deal with him in front of everyone. I opened the file. Let me show you something. I pulled out a printed photograph. It was a screenshot from a traffic camera, clear as day, a black Range Rover running a red light at 60 miles per hour in a 35 zone. Is this your vehicle, Mr. Thornwell? He barely glanced at it. Looks like it. According to this timestamp, you ran that red light at 7:04 a.m. You struck Miss Santos's car at 7:05. Then you drove away. We have footage of you leaving the scene. I've already said I'll pay for it, he repeated. His tone was sharper now, annoyed. This isn't just about money, I said. This is about responsibility. You put someone's life at risk. You fled. You didn't call for help. You didn't check if she was breathing. He sighed, loud enough for everyone to hear. Your Honor, I'm a very busy man. I run a town. I have meetings, deadlines, projects worth millions of dollars. I can't drop everything because of a fender bender. A fender bender? I repeated slowly. Yes, that's all it was. The whispers got louder. I raised my hand, and the room went quiet again. Mr. Thornwell, you seem to be under the impression that your schedule is more important than the law. He smiled. It wasn't friendly. Judge, I think we both know I'm not just anyone. I've worked with the mayor of Providence. I've had dinner with the governor. I've donated to dozens of campaigns, including some of the people who appointed judges to this very court. There it was. The threat, not direct, but clear enough. I leaned forward. Mr. Thornwell, I don't care who you've had dinner with. In this courtroom, everyone is equal. He laughed. Actually laughed. Equal? Come on, Judge. You've been around long enough to know that's not how it works. I didn't respond. I just pulled out the second piece of evidence. Let me show you something else. I held up a printout of text messages. These are texts from your phone to your assistant, sent at 7:12 a.m. the same day. You wrote, and I quote, I hit some car on Maple Street. If anyone asks, I was already at City Hall by 7. Got it? The courtroom went completely silent. Even his lawyer looked uncomfortable. Thornwell's smile faded. That was taken out of context. Out of context, I said. You instructed someone to lie for you. I was protecting my reputation. You were obstructing justice. His face turned red. Judge, you're making this into something it's not. I made a judgment call. That's what leaders do. Leaders take responsibility, I said quietly. He slammed his hand on the podium. The sound echoed like a gunshot. I don't need a lecture from you. Mr. Thornwell, I said, my voice steel now. You will control yourself in my courtroom. He pointed at me, actually pointed. Do you know who I am? I have lawyers that could bury you in paperwork. I have friends in every corner of this state. One phone call, and I could make your life very difficult. I stared at him. I didn't blink. Is that a threat? It's a fact. I let those words sit for a moment. Then I pulled out the third piece of evidence. We also have this. I held up a flash drive. This contains dashcam footage from a delivery truck that was parked across the street. It shows everything, you running the light, the collision, and then, Mr. Thornwell, it shows you getting out of your car, looking directly at Ms. Santos, slumped over her steering wheel, and getting back in your SUV and driving away. The air left the room. Thornwell's face went pale. His lawyer whispered something to him, but he shook his head. You looked at her, I said. My voice was quiet, but everyone heard me. You saw she was hurt, and you left her there like she was nothing. Thornwell's hands clenched into fists. She's fine. She's sitting right there. No thanks to you. He exploded. You know what? I'm done with this. I'm done pretending like I need to explain myself to you or anyone else in this room. You want the truth? Fine. I own this city. I own half the buildings downtown. I employ 300 people. I fund your parks, your schools, your roads. Without people like me, this place would be nothing. So yeah, I ran a red light. So what? I've got more important things to do than sit here and get lectured by some small-time judge who doesn't understand how the real world works. 10 seconds of silence. No one moved. No one breathed. The gallery sat frozen. His lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. Then someone in the back row stood up. Then another. Then another. Not to leave. To watch. Because they knew something big was about to happen. I folded my hands on the bench. I looked at Richard Thornwell, and I let him see exactly what I thought of him. Mr. Thornwell, I said slowly, you just made the biggest mistake of your life. He crossed his arms. Oh, really? Yes, because you just showed everyone in this room exactly who you are. You're not a leader, you're not important, you're a bully, and bullies don't scare me. I stood up. I don't usually stand during a case, but I needed him to understand. You think you own this city? You don't. You think your money makes you special? It doesn't. You think your connections protect you? Not here, not in my courtroom. I looked right into his eyes. You looked at Maria Santos. You saw she was hurt, and you drove away because you thought your meeting was more important than her life. That's not leadership, Richard. That's cowardice. His face turned bright red. You can't talk to me like, I can, and I will. You came into my courtroom and disrespected the law. You disrespected Ms. Santos. You disrespected every person who's ever had to face consequences for their actions. You think you're above it all, but you're not. I sat back down. I opened my folder and pulled out a sentencing sheet. Richard Thornwell, you are found guilty of reckless driving, leaving the scene of an accident with injury, obstructing justice, and contempt of court. His lawyer stood up. Your Honor, we'd like to request. Sit down, I said. The lawyer sat. I looked at Thornwell. Here's what's going to happen. First, you're going to pay Ms. Santos $25,000. That covers her medical bills, her lost wages, her car loan, and the pain and suffering you caused her. His mouth fell open. 25,000. I'm not finished. Second, your driver's license is suspended for 1 full year. No driving, not to work, not to meetings, not anywhere. If you're caught behind the wheel, you'll go to jail. You can't. Third, you will complete 200 hours of community service. Not at some charity gala where you shake hands and take pictures. Real work. You're going to spend every Saturday for the next 6 months at the Providence Community Kitchen. You're going to serve food. You're going to wash dishes. You're going to clean tables. And you're going to do it under the supervision of a court-appointed monitor who will report back to me personally. The gallery erupted in applause. I banged my gavel once and they quieted. Fourth, you're going to write a personal, handwritten apology to Ms. Santos, 1 full page minimum, and you're going to read it out loud in this courtroom at your follow-up hearing in 30 days. Thornwell looked like he'd been slapped. This is insane. Fifth, you're going to create and record a public service announcement about the dangers of reckless driving and the importance of stopping after an accident. It'll be played at every high school in Providence County. You'll do it at your own expense. His lawyer finally spoke. Your Honor, this is excessive. And sixth, I continued, because you threatened me, disrespected this court, and showed zero remorse, you are held in contempt. Bailiff. The bailiff stepped forward. He was a big man, calm, professional. Mr. Thornwell, you're going to spend the next 48 hours in county lockup. That gives you time to think about what you've done. Thornwell's face went white. You can't put me in jail. Do you know what this will do to my reputation? You should have thought about that before you left Maria Santos bleeding on the side of the road. The bailiff moved toward him. Thornwell backed up. "This isn't over. I'll appeal. I'll have your job." "You're welcome to try," I said calmly. "But right now, you're going to jail." The bailiff pulled out handcuffs. The click of the metal closing around Thornwell's wrists was the loudest sound in the room. His face was red, his hands were shaking, but he didn't say another word. As the bailiff led him toward the side door, Thornwell looked back at me one last time. I didn't look away. I wanted him to see that I meant every word. The door closed behind him. The courtroom stayed silent for a few seconds. Then slowly, people started to clap. It started soft, then grew louder. I banged my gavel gently. "That's enough," I said. "This is still a courtroom. But I'll admit, I felt it too. Not pride, not victory, just relief. Relief that the system still worked, that power didn't always win." I turned to Maria. She was crying, not sad tears, something else, maybe relief, maybe hope. "Ms. Santos, you'll receive the payment within 30 days. If you have any trouble, you contact my clerk directly, understand?" She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much." "You don't need to thank me. You deserve to be heard, and you were." 30 days later, Richard Thornwell came back to my courtroom. He looked different. His suit wasn't as sharp. His hair wasn't perfect. He'd spent 2 days in jail, and it showed. He stood at the podium with a piece of paper in his hand. His handwriting was messy, but it was there. "Ms. Santos," he read, his voice flat, "I'm sorry for what I did. I was wrong to leave. I was wrong to put my schedule above your safety. I hope you can recover fully, and I hope you can forgive me someday. It wasn't perfect, but it was something." Maria nodded from her seat. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. I looked at Thornwell. "You've completed 4 weeks of community service. Your supervisor says you've shown up on time and done the work. That's a start. You have 22 weeks left. Don't miss a single day." "I won't, Your Honor." "And your PSA has been recorded and distributed?" "Yes." "Good. Then we'll see you back here in 3 months for a progress report. You're dismissed." He turned to leave, but then he stopped. He looked back at Maria. "I really am sorry," he said, and this time his voice cracked just a little. Maria looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Just once. Thornwell left. I sat alone in my courtroom after everyone was gone. The lights were dim. The room was quiet. I thought about Richard Thornwell. I thought about Maria Santos. I thought about the hundreds of cases I've heard over the years. Some people think justice is about punishment. It's not. It's about balance. It's about making sure that no one, no matter how rich or powerful, gets to hurt someone and walk away. Maria didn't want revenge. She wanted to be seen. She wanted someone to say, "What happened to you mattered." And that's what I did. Because in my courtroom, everyone matters. Everyone gets heard. And no one owns this city. No one.